And on political news. Of course, this was supposed to be news shared yesterday. It's not news as such, but a reaction. How violent can we just be because of enmity? They always say in politics there is no permanent enemy. But what is this that is created around the community? If you look back to yesterday's events in KIAMBAA, then you'll have another story to tell. Gachagua has become one threat to the government, reasons of which most of people understand is the attacks and indications that he has been sharing of late. Of course, KIAMBAA is one of the places where we've had a story about the death and almost suffocation of a lot of people in a church. The repeated history now comes back after several years of this. Did this want to soil the name of Gachagua? Or was it meant actually to give a different picture of the government? Now, of course, according to Kombura, who was once attacked, it is indicated that it was a lie. Kiambura indicated these are things they have always been doing to cheat or present the government as a violent one. How true can this statement be? Could someone actually fake their attack and violence against themselves to such an extent that they hurt the young ones? Then politicians should be having their own definition away from humanity and beastly. It's just far off from beastly to see how the politicians were acting yesterday. Of course, after the event, we got a report from Gachagua, who came up with a press release. Now let's get to this before we can proceed.
Police station that ferried goons and police officers from government through the Kenya Police Service. Today in Wetima, Ubaya, where we had gone for a church service. And I want to correct that media stations earlier reported that attack by unknown people. It's not unknown. This attack was by the police, and we'll give you the details. Let me give the background to these vicious attacks and assassination attempts to take my life by President William Ruto and his rogue administration. After successfully hounding me out of office through bribery of members of parliament and members of the Senate, the president and his administration has attempted to assassinate me several distances. In November 2024, gangs from the Mungeki sect under police escort attacked me in the moon viciously and almost killed me. I was saved by the people from the area. Images of those who attacked me have been all over. Since then, nobody has ever been arrested. On December 2024 in Shamata, where I had gone for a Thanksgiving ceremony for the local MCA in Nyandarua, an inspector of police hurled TEARGAS canister at me to create mayhem, to give room to goons to attack us. Again, members of the public protected us. I reported this incident to the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kaja, who is my neighbor here. Nothing has ever happened. In April 2025, I got information that William Ruto had instructed the DIG, his tribesman, Mr. Langat, to make sure there is no the police presence in Weki Church, where goons had been organized by Governor Sakaja to come and attack me and keep me within the church. Again, members of the public and my security protected me, and the goons did not achieve what they had come to do. Earlier in February, goons at a police escort attacked Pastor Dorcas, my spouse, in Kabuchi, when she was preaching, where there was a crusade. Again, today, nothing has ever been done. In July, when I was in the United States, my team of Senators Joe Nyuto and John Medho of Nyandarua, Victor Monyaka, the former member of parliament for Machakos Town, were attacked by police with live bullets. This matter was reported to IPOA, Again, no action has ever been taken. On my arrival from the United States, members of parliament in Nairobi were facilitated by Kipchumba Murkomen, the CS for Interior, had staged a very daring attack on me under police supervision. Police were supervising the attack in a helicopter from the air. And I was not allowed to address people, and I was viciously attacked. Again, no action has ever been taken. In Narok Town, during the by-elections awaited for campaign, police officers, under the command of Betty Maina, the women rep for Muranga, and her two bodyguards, whose details I'll give later, viciously with the live ammunition and tear gas. We reported this matter. Again, nothing has ever been done. Just after the by-elections, I went for a Thanksgiving ceremony in Kariobangi PCA Church. Again, goons descended on us under police escort, and when they were overwhelmed by members of the public and my security, the police assisted them. These lobbied tear gas canisters inside the church to enable the guns come inside the church. They were repassed by members of the public, and we escaped without being injured. Women and children were hurt inside that church. Immediately thereafter, William Ruto declared that goons will never be allowed to attack anybody or to go to church, and instructed IG Kaja to make sure that will never happen. It was just mere talk and camouflage, because he's the one behind these attacks, and these attacks have gone on unchecked. Again in Gatundu, last Sunday, goons attacked us. Goons were organized by Moses Kuria and the MP for Thika Town, Alice Nganga, the MP for Gatundu South, Bwana Kangombe, and under police supervision, attacked us viciously, attacked the church, tear gas canisters inside the church at Kimorori, Kiomoria, injured women and children. Today in Witima CK Church, a gang of 15 police officers, rogue police officers, under the command of two bodyguards belonging to that guard Betumaina, the women rep from Rama, Peter Wainaina Kavuga, telephone number 0723 506 647, and another bodyguard of Betumaina, John Maina, aka Birash, telephone number 0712 791 609, and another goon from Ranga, Abros Manyek Njeri, telephone number 0710 788 577, converged at the Kamunyaka home of Eric Wamumbi, the Member of Parliament for Manera, in the morning for breakfast and briefing. They later moved to Witima with the AK-47 rifles and tear gas canisters and descended on the church. They injured women and children and hurt many people. The police...
All right, so that was a statement from Gachagua. If we couldn't believe in this, then it was a moment when Rigathi Gachagua was simply giving information without mentioning names. But the audacity to actually come out and share names of people who are assembled somewhere and met, this slaps differently. I have consistently talked on this channel about attacks, violence, and indicated how harmful they can be to the society. The goons will not always be hired. At some point, they'll be jobless. And that is actually the genesis of groups like Mungeke. Recently, of course, we saw the former leader of Mungeke joining hands with the government. Could this be another move that has actually led to insecurity in Mulima? Now, wait, before we go so far, what is this that they are not telling us? Of course, if you look at the attacks, the children and women suffered. They always say in war, it is women and children who suffer. And this is not just a statement to fill the airs. It has some evidence in it. Now, guys, if you remember very well during the post-election violence and what happened in KIAMBAA, those are moments we don't want to recall. And if there is any politician who would want safety or rather success in politics, it could be the one that would protect the people of KIAMBAA. Those were some of the images that showed how savage Kenyans can be. Could we have to go back to that again? Now let's look at this.
investment of $32,999
Spare me for
shillings in
a
Shell,
little
you
bit
step
as I
into a
look for the
world of new
videos.
opportunity.
The beating is emotional. That is a crushing.
Let's check on this.
Medical professionals are already sounding the alarm over the sudden hospitalizations in Kenya. Medical professionals are already sounding the alarm over the sudden hospitalizations in Kenya. The quickest route to the emergency room currently lies in two different high-risk hobbies. Number one, being a die-hard Arsenal fan or a die-hard follower of Rigathi Gachagua. Whether you love the Gunners or worship Gachagua, the gods have conspired to ensure you get beaten. The only difference is the delivery method. For the Arsenal faithfuls, the beating is emotional. That is a crushing defeat that leaves you bedridden with a pain and a shattered soul. But for Rigathi Gachagua's followers, the defeat comes delivered by the state, running battles, tear gas, live fire in the air, and the occasional wrecked vehicles thrown in for emphasis.
Na imechomwa na maafisa wa polisi wa Udhaya. Maafisa wa polisi wa Udhaya ndio wametekeleza hichi kitendo. Ndani ya mheshimiwa Gachagua ni imechomwa. Na imechomwa yote kaka. Kwa maguzi. Hiyo.
That reality caught up with Gachagua yet again in Othaya after chaos erupted during his visit to the ACK church. January 25th began quietly enough. As Manchester United prepared to humble Arsenal at the Emirates, Kenyan police appeared ready to stage their own versions of the fixture in Othaya. That is Gachagua's backyard. Flanked by the familiar convoy of land cruisers and the equally familiar chants of Kasongo must go, the atmosphere seemed to favor the president. However, the liturgy was adjusted without notice. No sooner had the entourage arrived than Gachagua was welcomed by a ruthless committee of ushers in blue uniforms, armed with guns, wooden batons, and very little patience. In a matter of seconds, the police decided the service needed a bit more atmosphere. They lobbed tear gas into the air, replacing the sweet smell of sanctity with a choking fog of riot control. The church service was instantly converted into a coughing contest, with the congregation from the elderly to the toddlers gasping for air in a heavy cloud of chemical smoke. Meanwhile, outside the sanctuary, Gachagua found himself in a tactical nightmare. Ambushed in his vehicle by this marauding gang of state-sponsored hooligans, it became clear that the police intended to send him either to a hospital bed or the mortuary, depending entirely on their mood swing of the minute. Gachagua, stuck in his car, found himself he switched from politician to paramilitary, scaling the church fence to dodge what he later described as a near-death experience.
Invest 32,999 shillings with
So
Shell
guys,
and
looking
unlock
at
a
that,
new level of
looking at this experience, it's a scary moment. Actually, they are trying to pressure and pull the opposition out of the ballot totally. If they have to exhibit fear, then it means they don't have to walk out of this. And now, it becomes a challenging moment. People like Kiomburi wake up to say that it is a kind of strategy used by Gachagua and his team to always seek, a moment of sympathy, or rather empathy, from the citizens. How true can this be? Now let's listen to Gachagua once more and get some other details of the event. So welcome so much, and continue subscribing to the channel, share and like. Let's check on this.
Touched one of my vehicles, KDK 002, a Toyota Land Cruiser. They deflated tires of all the people who were in church and caused untold damage to vehicles. They beat people outside the church mercilessly. The goons that came, they were in an Nissan Matatu, KDR 467N from Namu Shuttle, XN 467X from Namu Shuttle. These are the people who attacked the church, and they had AK-47, and we have corrected some cartridges, 7.62 millimeter. They are here from AK-47, and they had come to kill, and they were begging for our blood. And people have been left in anguish, wondering why their own government can turn against the Church of Christ and turn against leaders. I've heard Mukomen saying that, how can Mukomen investigate himself? How do police investigate themselves? These people came with a police vehicle, GK vehicle, GKB 765X, and another one from Maraga police station that ferried goons and police officers from Maraga. After the attack, the goons have retreated to a Mombi's home in Kamunyaka, where they are now, together with the police, where they are having lunch and drinks. So, Mukomen cannot tell the people of Kenya that they are going to investigate anything. The police...
All right, so it is not the first time or the last time we've had a politician actually trying to indicate that they are threatened, that their life is threatened. And again, it's not the first or the last time to hear any Kenyan say that they are not trusting the police, that they do not actually understand how the government can investigate itself. This is not just a situation in Kenya. It is a situation you've seen in Uganda, Tanzania, and in other African nations. Does this mean that Africa does not have to follow law? Does it mean that the government of the day can be lawless and there are no consequences to follow? Does the proverb, choices have consequences, cease to be? Or does it only apply to those who suffer, like Gachagua himself and the rest of the children who innocently suffocated in the church out of the tear gases that the government, or actually the perpetrators who are indicated as the police, conducted in a church? How brutal can we be that we can actually decide to do what happened yesterday in KIAMBAA? Does any Kenyan still trust what the police can do? In years before, we were told that the police are just fellow Kenyans and we should actually respect and honor and befriend them. Does the narrative now change? How can you actually tell a young girl or boy from KIAMBAA the same narrative if they experience a near-death situation in KIAMBAA? Talking about the cartridges that have been collected, will they really be indicated as having come from specific people, or with the narrative turn against Gachagua? That has always been the situation. If people want to elevate or avoid being attacked, they quickly run to indicate that somebody has attacked themselves. How many times have we seen individuals saying that Gachagua has attacked himself? Not once, not twice, and we'll still continue to see the same situation. Now, let's see those who are caught on camera. How are you? You came for lunch?
Yes.
Oh, and you ate very little?
I never got the rubbish.
Okay. And the phone of the teacher, you've never got it?
Children were injured, cars were riddled with bullets, and a visibly shaken Rigathi Gachagua claiming
Okay.
he was
Is
a
your dress
target.
clean?
This is what the
If
government
it's
doesn't
clean,
want to know about the Othaya
are you going
church
tomorrow
attack.
with the uniform or the other?
In a teasing 24 hours, President Ruto's government has been caught
Tracksuit.
flat-footed, stumbling through the debris of
But
the
if
Othaya
this is not
church attack.
that you'll use on
Children were
Wednesday.
injured, cars were riddled with bullets, and a visibly shaken Rigathi Gachagua claiming he was a target of a state-sanctioned assassination.
Attacking churches, attacking women and children, trying to kill leaders. You are simply making the situation very difficult. The people of this region whom you have declared war on are hating you much more than they hated you yesterday. There is no way you can force the people of this area to support you. And use of police and goons will not help you. And this is just making the situation more complicated.
The truthful man claims the assault was orchestrated 3 days in advance, allegedly by politicians with state ties and backed by police units from neighboring Murang'a County.
A gang of us 15 police officers, rogue police officers, under the command of 2 bodyguards belonging to that guard Betty Maina, the women rep from Murang'a, Peter Wainaina Kavuga, telephone number 0723 506 647, and another bodyguard of Betty Maina, John Maina, aka Birash, telephone number 0712 791 609, and another goon from Murang'a, Abros Manyek Njeri, telephone number 0710 788 577, converged at the Kamunyaka home of Eric Wamumbi, the member of parliament for Manera, in the morning for breakfast and briefing.
While the state tries to play innocent, the opposition is reminding the Ruto administration of a fundamental truth of the Kenyan political landscape, that power is transient and the system you build to crush your enemies often becomes the same machine that eventually turns on you.
What happened yesterday in Othaya Nyeri is very shameful, honestly. It's unthinkable that young kids who woke up in the morning to go to Sunday school would be tear-gassed in the manner in which they are tear-gassed without cause. There is no crime they had committed. They were not in the wrong place. They were in the place they wanted to be in at that particular time. The poor old women running around, away from tear gas and harassment is very, very shameful. And I've often said, for our political leaders, don't listen so much to the words they tell you, especially the ones in government. Look at their actions. Because how would a confident government do that? Because a government that's confident and has no problem with its population, with its people, why would they allow that kind of thing to happen? Okay, fine. Now, with tremendous respect, and I'm happy myself, senior leaders of government, including His Excellency the Deputy President, whom I have a lot of respect for, and the Minister for Interior, have said agree with us that what happened is shameful and it's something that ought not to happen. Now, let's move to action. Let's see what action will be taken and so on, because that is what is going to tell us the sincerity or genuineness of this. Let's see what's going on. Are all over the place. Those guys carrying AK-47 and so on. And then you see some strange things being said by leaders. Like I saw one leader from Laikipia saying something laughable, that Gachagua organized that so that he can seek sympathy. If he organized it, it's against the law. So why don't you arrest those people he was organizing that with? And this happened when Natembewa was attacked in Kabuchai, it was the same response. This is finally what is very stressful to me, to be honest with you, is this. 2/3 of these senior leaders in the security sector are people I worked with. I know them very well. Some of them are fairly decent people. I have said this and I don't mind repeating it again. The Inspector General, Mr. Kanja, is one of the best police officers in the country. He was my GSU commandant when I was Minister for Interior. I mean, the DCI, hawa ni watu tumefanya kazi nao na ninawajua. Some of them are going to retirement. Why do they want their careers to be soiled by that kind of nonsense perpetrated by some third-rate politicians who have problems and they think the best way to square out the issues is to go and beat up innocent children and women. And finally, for government, and with tremendous respect, mimi naheshimu serikali, I respect our leaders in government. You know, they are walking the country themselves to disaster because you will never have enough bullets for 55 million or so Kenyans. And you can't shoot your way to electoral victory or what have you. You cannot intimidate people.
All right, guys. So you heard what Matiang said. Intimidation is not the way to go when people are tired. Sometimes when people are tired, intimidation can't work with them. We've even seen our own children or even workers back at home. You can't use intimidation to silence them or make them loyal. You would rather change your tactics and use others. Why can't our leaders use other methods, dialogues, which they always tell us, but they are deciding to use a combative way, a coercive force, and a way that is so barbaric, beastly, and takes us back to the moment when we did not have the tables where people could discuss. And of course, we've had a lot of people talking about this. Among them is Senator Karungo. Let's hear what Karungo says on NTV today while fixing aspects.
Karungo Adangwa, the senator for KIAMBAA County, we had invited him and told him, please arrive at 6:30. He translated that to being 7:30. It was wrong, it was 6:30. Karibu Karungo. Good morning, Eric. How are you doing? I'm good. Good morning, Mariam.
Good morning.
Yeah, sorry. First of all, I need to take this chance to say, I apologize for coming late, but owing to the fact of what happened yesterday, there is so much that was happening at night. And you know, it is something that we have never witnessed. So I've actually come from Wamunyoro this morning. I left very early in the morning, earlier than I was expecting.
Okay.
But Thika Road being Thika Road, here I am. I've even arrived through a border. So I have now experienced even what other people experience. So I know what to do next when I'm invited.
What was happening overnight in Wamunyoro?
Overnight, you know, maybe before we go to the overnight, let me start from the beginning because I attended the church in Othaya yesterday morning. I came from Nairobi, others left from Nyeri, and we met at the church. Actually, the People's Deputy President arrived there earlier than us. So when we got to church, on my way to church, I found on the road the truck, the P address truck that was announcing to the people in the area that Rigathi Gachagua will be addressing people at Othaya Shopping Center, Othaya Town, had been attacked. And I saw the driver on the road, by the roadside, bleeding. And immediately I could not stop at that particular time, but after just a minute or so, I stopped and asked people, what is happening over there? They said, those are the police. They have tear gas this guy. They have tear gas this truck. The windscreen of that vehicle were all down. So I was like, something is amiss here. So before I could even go back just to save the driver, we saw the police vehicle coming our direction. So we had to rush. And when we rushed, we went to church. It is me actually, after getting into church, which was already starting, I informed Rigathi Gachagua something is not right outside. They are police officers and they're just throwing tear gases and shooting at people indiscriminately. So, and people started rushing out, our security, to find out what is happening. Because why would you tear gas a truck that is just telling people or announcing to the people there?
Yeah?
So immediately people became alert. But we were like, I mean, nobody would come and attack a church. So we continued, the church continued. And after 5 minutes, that's when the same people who had a police brand cruiser, a Nissan Matatu by, I think, a circle called Namu Shadow, they came. You see, this kind of information, we are getting to know it later. Because when we are in church, we can only tell it's tear gas because we are smelling it. We can only tell it's tear gas because our eyes are hurting. And there's commotion in church. But Erica, I want to tell you this because there's a narrative that is being given out there that probably it is a setup or probably it is us planning these things, this plan. But let me tell you something, Eric, because I've never been in such a situation. And I don't want anybody to even think in that line. Because if I was to paint a picture of what happened yesterday, because first of all, the ACK church in Othaya town is a small church. It has a small half floor up there where the children were. And there were so many children. And it has 3 doors. And 2 doors, they are pointing towards the gate where the bullets and the tear gas canisters were being thrown to. The other one is a small one that I think goes to in Catholic we call it the San Christ. So I don't know, I mean it's a small door.
It's called a vestry.
A vestry, yes, that one. So that was the only door that we could use. So these people knew that. It's like they had come to the church before. So they had marked those 2 doors. There are one in the main door and the one in the small door at the vestry. So that's why we were locked in church. And everybody was in church. The children were in church. And Eric, I want to tell you this because maybe you'll be the one who will be given an opportunity to say how much you know me in a funeral or something. We saw it yesterday. And probably in 2008, when the KIAMBAA church massacre happened, there were no survivors. There's no one to explain what happened. We can only imagine how a mother and a child were being burned, hugging each other, crying to death. But yesterday we saw it. Because they first locked the doors, they put the tear gas in every door, and the children were there crying. So the next thing was fire. And they had already started the fire by burning the vehicles. So even if you're blaming Rigathi Gachagua of planning this, he cannot plan to be part of it inside the church where everybody is, and the fire is coming from outside, the bullets are coming from outside, and the bullets...
You're saying they locked the doors?
They locked the doors.
Who's they here?
Yeah,
the people who are coming, we're saying they're rogue police because those were not the normal goons that people say the goons. Because they had the protection of police officers. They had a Land Cruiser, which is a GK vehicle. And from the newspaper, it is your newspaper, has reported, they interviewed one of the police officers who declined to be named and said how they plan. Eric, I want to tell you this. Some of our members who will be doing police reports or reporting to IPOA, because we don't believe the National Police would investigate itself. We don't believe Murkomen and the CS for Interior will investigate itself. Some of our members of parliament were receiving messages, threats, because of what you did to me in Karatira yesterday, leo mutakipata. There are those messages. They're not WhatsApps. I'm talking about SMS. So meaning Safaricom has it, So we knew, but we never thought anybody in their sane mind would want to do that. So Eric, I'm telling you, we experienced the reenacted.
All right, guys. So that is a report from Senator Karungo Wadangwa. And of course, you get to see this information from different people. It's reading in the same line. Then you wonder if they are saying that Gachagua actually planned politics and violence. What is the way forward then? Because at this rate, then it means that whether it's the government or the opposition, people should stop going to churches because it's one of the places now that is attracting agonism or whatever it is. And it's very emotional. It's a very emotional moment. If this happens in a church and innocent people have gone to pray, to actually sanitize themselves, to create an opportunity to relate with God, and it's a place where children are being taught virtues. How ironical and satirical it can turn, that a place where you're looking for solace and spiritual growth turns into a dying ground. Now let's look at this as shown by NTV, Citizen TV, and Kamau Mwangi shared these details. So let's follow them up. Violence that was quite unacceptable,
Come in, they were briefed shortly at the vestry, and then they had just settled inside the church for the Sunday service to commence. This was around 10:30, 10:45, and just before the service could start, the church coordinator was leading that particular service, gave the microphone to the chairperson of the church for his welcoming remarks. And that is when promotion began, because we had also just said for this particular service, trying to get order to check that our audios were okay, and a group of congregants of that particular church and who had not gotten inside the service came in running inside the church as ni kama tu kulikuwa na tukio ambalo lilikuwa nje, and that is when we had the first explosion outside, and this is how this particular service was disrupted, because since that canister, or after that canister went off, everything went awry, and that is to mean that this was followed by a series of tear gas explosions outside, and Gachagua security that was stationed at the doors of the canister were quick to close those doors so that the assailants, who we would then learn that were police officers in civilian clothes, could not access the church itself, where the congregants were and where the leader was seated. And for like 20 minutes, this was a series of gunshots, was a series of tear gas canisters, explosions, and efforts by the congregants inside to just embark on, did little to contain the situation, because once the tear gas now entered the church, it was the turn of these particular congregants who were inside to find their way out, because having been locked inside and the tear gas was still coming in, most of them could not sustain being inside the church. We could see children wailing, we could hear women wailing. The congregants just trying to wipe off the effect of that tear gas from their faces. And my cameraman and I, James, decided to just take cover first, because you could not go outside. Right. It was a canister after a canister, a gunshot after the other, and then just moments before we could get outside, we saw this group of hooded men just outside at the main entrance of the church, because between the church and the entrance is not quite a far distance. And these guys were armed with the djembe sticks. Some had guns, the AK-47s, and there are those that you could see from afar that walikuwa na zile pistols for upande. Okay. And that is how we thought for an exit ambayo ilikuwa ni upande mwingine wa kanisa, and then found our way outside, so looked for a gap at the fence, and then jumped over as we sought to find our way back to the main road, because that is the only way we could get outside and capture what was happening. And Sam, let me tell you after.
So guys, war was one thing in the past, and followed was football that replaced war, so that it can create a way in which people could release their energy, they could show allegiance, and they could as well work through teams without necessarily spilling blood or causing suffering. However, human beings are so funny, and when they think that violence will help them, they don't care when they propagate and where they propagate it. Was the church really a necessary place where this was supposed to be conducted? I don't mean that there is any other suitable place for this to be carried out, but the church, of all the places, how can we be so brutal as Kenyans to do this? And this is ruining our image. A lot of fuzz on Kenya. As far as we may not accept this, The claims of survival of assassination make a lot of sense for Gachagua. Now, it's not just Gachagua himself, but we have a lot of other people who would actually experience the same. The diehards of UDA are actually defending Ruto and indicating that what happened in Karatina qualifies what now happened in KIAMBAA. Is this actually the right way to go as a nation? As the election process is coming, are we turning into Uganda where we are seeing a lot of attack on Bobby Wine, Besigye, among others? Turning into Tanzania where we've seen a lot of attacks on Tundu Lissu among his other allegiances. We have to monitor and be careful about what happens, because if this is going to proceed, then we are actually doomed, I may say. Let's finish the statement of Rigathi Gachagua and actually ask into what is happening in this country. Let's watch this.
Cannot investigate themselves. These police officers are known. These officers attached to Betty Minor are the ones that attacked us in Kagio. They attacked us in Narok. They attacked Senator Nyoto in Murang'a, and they have attacked us today. The vehicle's number are here. Kipchumba Murkomen. Officers' images are circulating on social media. So what are you telling us? You have asked the IG to investigate. You cannot investigate yourself. This is a government attack, well known to Kipchumba Murkomen. Stop pretending that you are shocked that a church can be attacked. That is pretension. I want to thank the church members of my CK church for going down on their knees and praying that we are not killed. And God heard their prayers. Although bullets were raining like heavy rain, none of us was injured. Women, of course, and children have fainted because of tear gas. But we want to thank the church. And I want to tell our people to continue praying. God is in control. God is in control. And all these things will come to pass. I want to ask Murkomen, for 40 minutes, police attacked the church. Where were the local police officers from Uvaya police station? 100 meters away. Which is 200 meters away from where we were. How can an attack on a church take place with the live bullets and tear gas for 40 minutes? And then the CS Interior is saying he's going to investigate. There's nothing to investigate, because this is organized by government, by the police, and by the two members of parliament, Eric Wamumbi and his wife. And they are now with the police officers celebrating in Kaminyaka, here in Mandera. The area member of parliament. And of course, the area member of parliament for Uvaya, Mheshimiwa Wainaina. I wonder why, Mheshimiwa Wainaina, you said people to attack the people who elected you. The people give you their votes. Why would you say police to attack them in church? Let me wind up by saying the following. We are indeed not surprised that William Ruto has turned against the Church of Christ, and he has turned against women and children. This is part of his political DNA. It is in public knowledge that William Ruto organized an attack on women and children in KIAMBAA Church in 2008, the first 2 days. On 2nd January 2008, children and women were burnt alive in church. It is William Ruto who organized that attack. And when he came and became our friend, we forgave him and we thought that he had changed his bad ways. But as soon as he became president, he went back to his old habits. He has a serious problem with the Church of Christ. He has a bone to pick with women and children. He attacked women and children in Mweki, PCA. He attacked women and children in Kariobangi. He attacked women and children in Gatundo. Today he has attacked women and children in Wetima. William Ruto, we have thought that you have changed your
Snuff out the political opponents. Even if it means tear gassing innocent men, women and children who are just attending a church service like everybody else. And mind you, it's all just because Rigathi Gachagua was inside. Just have a look at this aftermath. this rate, will Ruto ever beat the KIAMBAA allegations? To be honest, mimi sioni. People now know him for exactly who he is, and the media houses also calling him out without sugarcoating. I'm so happy with the Standard newspaper. Just have a look at this header. President, stop this. I like how they immediately us know who is behind it. Hakuna haja kusema Murkomen sijui nani. The buck stops with the president, so he is the one behind it. And the subheader reads, "Teargas in a church, bullets in the air, and children choking in Othaya marked the latest attack on former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua amid a surge in such incidences since his impeachment." You can also see the kids huddling down there together after the tear gas was hurled. Now, in line with that, in this video, I want us to look into some of the other egregious scenes that we saw yesterday in Othaya. And so, with no further ado, let's get after it. Number one, the goal for the goons in uniform yesterday was to kill Rigathi Gachagua, and so here's how they planned to do it. They first waited till everybody was inside and the service was going on, and then they all the cars which were outside the vicinity. Just have a look at these images. But the purpose of damaging the cars was to ensure Gachagua and team could not escape. How do you live if your visor is damaged, your tires are slashed, your fuel is leaking? That vehicle becomes useless. So that was step one of their ploy. Now, once the cars were immobilized, they then proceeded to lob tear gas into the church, just as you've seen in the video I played for you earlier on in the episode. And the purpose of this tear gas was to flush out Rigathi Gachagua from the church so that they could either arrest, abduct, or kill him. We just don't know which is which that they were looking for. But the one thing they did not expect, it was the United Opposition borrowing uniform from the clergymen and then storming out dressed as pastors or choir members, and they let them move. They didn't know that's them. Just listening to this.
You saw, we even had to borrow robes from the clergy, the choir uniform, for us to escape through the hind doors.
So you can just imagine how bad things were. For mtu kwenda kuambia mtu wa kwaya nipatie hiyo nguo na unajifunga kitambaa hapo juu ili utoroke usiuliwe, it's a big shame. Everybody, irrespective of your religion, should be able to go to church, whether you're a Christian, if you're a Muslim, you should be able to go to the mosque without anybody coming to lob tear gas or anything in that vicinity. And it is Christians, purported Christians, to hurl tear gas inside the church. What BS Christianity is that? Unajita Mkristo na unatupa tear gas ndani ya church. If you really respected God, why not wait until these fellows are outside the church and do what you want to do with them? Politicians can deal with each other politically, but waiting for them to be in the church, that is demonic. Number two, Malala erroneously stated earlier on that Rigathi Gachagua was abducted. In fact, here's a tape.
Fellow Kenyans, leo tumekuwa katika kanisa hapa Othaya, na wakati tulikuwa tunaanza polisi na goons wamekuja kwa kanisa wakatupiga tear gas na wakafukuza kila mtu. Kumekuwa na heka, wamepiga tear gas paka kwa madhabahu, na wakati tulikuwa natoka, ningependa kutangazia Wakenya kwamba kuna majamaa wamechukua party leader wetu Rigathi Gachagua, wamemweka sijui wamempotelea wapi, wakapiga tear gas wameenda na live bullets. Tungependa what is live bullets? Tungependa ambie William Ruto.
All right, guys. So that was the staccato, the hula baloos, and all that happened in KIAMBAA, not KIAMBAA, but Othaya, reminding us of what happened in KIAMBAA some years ago. How sane can we be again, Kenyans? If all that sanity is regained, then we are safe. But if this insanity continues, we are totally insane. Bye for now. Adios.